yet.
Still good.
Yeah.
Do you feel teams are playing more physically? Like it looked like Detroit was willing to take penalties when they played against you.
Yeah, I feel like every week since then it's been kind of that same approach. I don't know if that's a game plan thing or what, but it feels like, yeah, teams are getting in my face and grabbing and playing physical. But that's kind of maybe a philosophy of a lot of defenses now is just they're gonna maybe cloud some sides of the field, and then the other side maybe be a little more physical and disrupt timing and things like that.
What's the counter? How do you counter a physical team?
Yeah, just continue to battle through it and try to win at the top of your route and try to make sure that you kind of have that clock going off in your head to say, hey, I got to separate at some point to make sure that I'm separating at the time that the quarterback's ready to throw. So at the end of the day, they're doing that to disrupt timing. So when you can try to stay on that timing and have good releases, be good with your hands, and when you do that, usually it allows you to get more flags. If you're good at the top of your routes, you also play physical and have good releases.
Adam, do you see that in Arizona, or what do you see in their defense?
Yeah, they don't press as much as some of the teams we've seen recently, but I think it's each week teams are playing us differently than we see them on tape. So it could be one of those things. So you kind of just prepare for everything. You kind of use some of the experiences of the last few weeks of how teams are starting to defend us, and then you kind of just plan for it, and then you just adjust as the game goes on.
Adam, we're just talking to Justin, and he said when he was 10 years old, he said he was going to be one of the greatest. At 10 years old, did you ever consider in the back of your mind, maybe not say it out loud, that you'd be knocking on 500 receptions coming up, 7 more for that, 6, and then your third all-time Vikings receiver? Do you think of that?
Well, I was trying to emulate those guys when I was at that age, trying to be Chris Carter and Randy Moss and Jake Reed and trying to be other greats in the NFL. And so I was emulating that. I don't know if I was necessarily thinking about me being in that situation, but I guess kind of, you dream. You think about being in those big games and those big situations in the backyard. It's 4th and goal to win the game, to win the Super Bowl. You're out there with your buddies. So I guess you kind of put yourself in those situations. But yeah, I mean, just kind of have fun and just figure it out as we go and not try to think about it. It's always been in the back of my head that I always, felt like I wanted to play in the NFL and wanted to play for the Vikings, those things, put it in the back of my head and just focus on the moment.
Speaking of JJ, I asked him about this. He's number 1 in NFL history, yards per game, 94.1. I mean, I know he's only played 2.5 years, but what do you think of that, the history of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think what stands out is obviously that's a stat that proves consistency, and that's what stuck out to me the most about him is he's not a guy that has 150 yards and then 10 yards and then 120 yards and then 40 yards. He's a guy that's consistent week in and week out.
Let me ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
This drink's a little too good. What'd you put in this today?
So I've been making Kirk a
I
drink.
stop drinking this.
Yeah.
Got caffeine in it. I just keep sipping it.
I tend to be a part-time barista at the facility, so I have a special drink. I can't give you guys my potion, but Kirk likes it, I guess. So that's good. I gotta try to get him juiced up for practice, so he's out there a little antsy. It's good.
So it's not a martini.
It's not a martini. It's just coffee, and it's healthy. So that's all I can give away. And it is Caribou coffee, so shout out to Caribou.
You just doctor it a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, you were on the 2016 team that started strong and then faded a little bit, especially as you guys are kind of coming out of the bye week. What do you have to do to make sure that you keep this up and there's no kind of second half lull?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's something that we're trying to use those experiences. So there's a lot of guys on this team that, there's a few guys on this team that were on that team. And then being able to use that experience. Other guys from other teams that maybe have had similar stories or maybe opposite where they started poorly and ended up really well. So just using those experiences to talk to the young guys, to talk to the offense or the defense or special teams in meetings to say, hey guys, we can't relax. We have to focus on the details. We have to be that 0-0 mentality, zero wins, 0 losses mentality. Like, this is the first game of the season. It's the most important game. And it's easy to say those things, but to actually go out there and practice that way and to play games with that mentality of, we don't have, I feel like sometimes when you start winning games, you just feel like, oh, well, if we lose, so be it. We'll be good. We'll get it next time. But you can't have that mentality in this league because it catches up to you quickly, as a lot of us have that experience in the past. And so just trying to use those experiences.
What do you remember from that 16 season and why you fell off? And what can you learn from? Why did you guys fall off that year?
Yeah, I think each team, each season, each year that you have a 5-0 record or 5-1 record, let's just say, it's a completely different team, right? So I feel like at that time we were playing our very best football, the very best we could possibly play. And so there wasn't really anywhere up from there, being at 5-0, where I feel like right now we're 5-1 and have played not our best football. And I feel like there's so much room for improvement. But does that mean that's going to happen? No, we still have to go out there and practice and play every single day and prove that we are what our record says we are. So excited about that challenge and that opportunity. It's hard to win in this league, so definitely not discounting where we're at, but definitely have to have a sense of urgency to continue to get better and to continue to master these schemes and systems that we're kind of freshly learning. Obviously, it's not an excuse anymore being 7 weeks into the season, but we got to have a sense of urgency.
As the season progresses, is it easier or harder to try to pinpoint how defenses are going to play you guys? Because I've heard multiple people say you've been a little bit surprised by opponents. So
yeah, I think it gives us more of a baseline of what teams are going to try to do, what they think we do well, and what they're going to try to take away. So it gives us kind of maybe gives us a little bit of a heads up of what we could possibly be getting. But again, it's this game is so much about making adjustments on the fly and being able to do it quickly. So you kind of figure out what teams are going to do to defend you, and then you got to find a way to adjust and to make it work. And obviously the coaches do a great job of looking at that and saying, okay, if they're going to throw this at us, this is what we're going to do. If they're going to throw this at us, we're going to be prepared for that. And that just kind of shows, the quality of people that we have in this building, because they're able to plan and prepare and help us be successful on the field. Thanks, guys.